Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:05, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to your Wednesday, February 26th. Hope you're doing well. It is Wilson Wednesdays. I love every Wednesday when I get to talk to my friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Dan. It's good to be with you.
So we hear the Daily Dan poll. Of course, you know we do that every day. Our poll today, watch us and like us over there. Follow the page on YouTube, and you can watch us there. And we do the Daily Dan poll every day. How would you grade Donald Trump's first 5 weeks?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about here this morning.
Well, good. Go ahead.
I'm ready. First of all, amazing. Just across the board, let me give you the big picture. In all the years that I covered Washington, and I've been watching Washington, and I've been following politics, I've never seen so much accomplishment in such a little space of time. I mean, the border already better. The cabinet, and including some that we thought might not get through, got through. It's largely in place, and that is a huge victory, because he's got his people in place to keep doing the things that he wants to do, which is sort of upset the apple cart, which I'm not opposed to at all. There is this elegant solution in the works right now to solve the problem between Russia and Ukraine that actually benefits the United States. When you look at what he's trying to do with the minerals, it is a huge thing, because we desperately need to have access to those kinds of minerals to go forward, because that's one place where China has a huge strategic advantage over us. They have a lot of those minerals, and we don't have as many as they have.
Right, it's $500 billion. You're talking about minerals. You're talking about ports as well. And Zelensky, I've been covering this. Zelensky has been pitching a fit about all of this, the meetings with Vladimir Putin. He's not at the table and all of that. And now it sounds like, I don't know if he's actually signed it, but last night
he's coming on Friday to the White House to sign it. So we'll see how that all works out.
$500 billion. That is a big deal.
Huge deal. Then last night, the House of Representatives passed his big, beautiful bill. It was close, but he got it through. It was always thought that the big, beautiful bill would have its most difficult opportunities, face most difficulty in the House of Representatives. Yep. And they got it through. It was up and down all night, but they apparently pushed it through and got it across the goal lines. The Senate now will take that up, and it looks like, once you get through the House, the Senate was thought to be the easier lift, so that's a big deal.
Yeah. But
I am most wildly crazy about what Elon Musk is doing. I mean, he's getting a lot of criticism, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. The Democrats have to find a boogeyman, and they're going to come after Elon Musk, and they're going to try to, vilify him. But I love the fact that Elon Musk, through the power given to him by the President of the United States, and the President of the United States gets his power from us. Mm-hmm. So because of that lineage, he's able to go in there and ask something that I don't understand why this hasn't been done on a regular basis. Who are you, and what do you do here for the federal government?
What exactly is it you do here, and how long have you been here? And what did you get done, by the way?
What's wrong with that idea? Well, I mean, making people have to, stand up and explain what it is they do, and if they aren't doing very much, then let's cull them from the herd. Let's make sure that we get people in there who are actually doing work. Not all federal workers are bad people, but there is, I think, an element within the federal government of people who play the system, who play the game, and know how to manipulate things, and apparently there's a tremendous amount of waste, fraud, and abuse, and there apparently are, look to me, I'll be interested to find out more about this, about the so-called zombie government employees.
It is
put a little device on their computer that makes it look like they're working, but they're not.
It's interesting, because I agree with you on all of that. The only criticism that I might have, and I did mention this at the end of the last hour, is that it didn't seem like the agency heads like Kash Patel and Kristi Noem, they weren't in on the fact that he was going to send this email. And so not everybody was on the same page, and it did take a couple of days for everybody to get on
the
that
same page. But what it took was Donald Trump saying, he's acting on my behest. Well, and I love what he's doing, and and the authority that he has comes from me. And I'm glad that everybody's, is it a little sloppy now and then? Yeah. But when you're trying to do big things in a hurry, and you've got to do things in a hurry, maybe there's going to be a little sloppiness. But at the end of the day, when you look at the progress that's been made compared to the things that have been a little off kilter or maybe a little sloppy, we're winning so big. It's driving the Democrats absolutely guano crazy.
Well, you're right, and the last thing I'll say about that is let's also not forget that Elon Musk is the guy who tried to send a rocket up and it exploded, and everybody thought, oh my gosh, this is a big deal, a big setback for Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is like, we knew it was going to explode. We're learning from our failures, and that is so incredibly important. You're talking, Brian, about how the left is going crazy about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the success that they're having. I want to play you this audio from none other than Jasmine Crockett, and she had a message for Elon.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off.
That's it.
So it just seems like all decorum has gone out the window.
There exists no decorum in Washington right now, and I don't know that it's ever going to come back. It's just raw, naked politics. Each side trying to take advantage of the other, and it's just going to be bare knuckled politics for a while.
Brian Wilson joining us, and part of what I said earlier when this came down, a lot of people saying, "Oh, she's got no decorum," this, that, and the other. Donald Trump routinely curses up on stage. I don't know about Elon Musk, but I know that Donald Trump has and does and will continue. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, oh my God, pearl clutching and all that with Jasmine Crockett. This is who she is. And Trump has been known to throw down as well. So that's all fine.
He has an affinity for my favorite word. I mean,
yes,
he drops
does.
that one now and then.
Yes, he does.
But I think there's a level. I mean, I am of the opinion, and this is an opinion that I've held for some time, that, when you use this word, or maybe this word, or on occasion you have to say it's this. Yes, I have the buttons.
You sure do
want to use them. But when you say those words, I don't see that at the same level as dropping an F-bomb.
Well, and here's the other difference, Brian. The other difference is you've got Jasmine Crockett telling someone to F off versus Donald Trump, who will just say it's BS or it's horse S. He's not calling anyone a name. I'm sure that he has, behind the scenes, but I don't know if he's ever actually thrown down that kind of language against some of his arch enemies, like a Chuck Schumer or
certainly
Mitch McConnell.
Not in public. You're right.
That's exactly right. So there is a difference. You're right. There is a difference between.
See, I think we ought to be able to use the BS and the HS and the CS. I think we should be. I think that ought to be in our vocabulary.
Sure.
I think we should be allowed to say it because, there's no better word in the world than to describe something as total you-know-what.
Well, you know what? Yeah. And research proves that it is actually better for your health if you throw down every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish we could have that one in our vocabulary, but the FCC has not changed its mind about that.
The pesky FCC, which, by the way, did you see? And this is not a well-covered story, so I don't know if you know about it, but the FCC is now looking into George Soros and his impact on local radio because, he bought those radio stations in Florida. He bought Odyssey as well. And so, of course, the worry is that he's going to have an impact on, these radio stations.
Well,
if you have any conservatives.
Go ahead and try that. I have never seen liberal talk radio ever get off the ground. They've tried it time and time again, and it doesn't go anywhere. And I don't know. I'm surprised by that. There ought to be a way to do that, but it's just not where the American people are. The American people are much more aligned with the things that we say Center right. Roger Ailes said many years ago that, he was putting together Fox News for a center right audience because that's where America largely is.
Yeah.
And, talk radio on the liberal side of the equation, it's been tried, and every time it's been tried, it just doesn't seem to catch.
Well, and they can try to shut down, conservative talk show hosts in one company, which, by the way, Odyssey, they're not a big talk radio company anyway.
No, they're not, no.
But I mean, for me, the Democrats and the left, they've got a lot bigger problems than talk radio because, you've got now the podcasters, the biggest podcasters out there are the ones like a Joe Rogan, who is not necessarily affiliated as a Republican or conservative, but because he's a free thinker and he asks a lot of questions and he's inquisitive, that's, Brian, where he falls.
I agree. And I'm very excited about the moves that are underway in Washington to take federal funding away from NPR and PBS. Oh, couldn't be more excited about that. Isn't that about time?
It's about darn time. Okay, Brian, I want to ask you about the changes in the White House press briefing room.
Right.
We're going to talk about that straight ahead. It is 7:16. Time to check the roads on WTN. So yesterday, Caroline Leavitt, the White House, announcing that the White House Correspondents Association would no longer be allowed to decide which outlets are included in the White House press pool, the group of reporters who fly on Air Force One and cover the president in tight spaces, such as the Oval Office. But she did say that as far as the White House press briefing room and some of these other things, there will still be full access. It just seems like they're rotating in some new outlets.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this?
Well, I probably know a lot more about this than you would care to hear because I was actively involved in some of those processes when I was in Washington.
Yep.
There are two correspondence associations. Well, there's a bunch of them actually, but there's a bunch of them on Capitol Hill. You got your broadcast, you got your print, you got your magazine, you got your the still photographers. All are one pool over on Capitol Hill. And you have to have a credential there. And then at the White House, same thing. It's the White House Correspondents Association, which largely, sets the policy about who's going to go in and who's going to be a part of the pool, et cetera, and has always established that reputation. It was set up that way years ago because it was thought, that, the government doesn't want to get into the business of trying to decide who's a journalist and who's not. And so they set up these organizations. Look, the White House sets the rules. It's their candy store. Capitol Hill sets their rules, and it's their candy store. But they have these they're organizations that are designed to work with the government in order to facilitate coverage. Okay, so all of that to say that it's always been handled by the correspondence associations, so that politics didn't get involved in it. Well, politics is getting involved in it, and I'm not sure it's a tremendously good thing. I do think it's a good idea for the administration to call out when somebody has misreported or misrepresented things that the administration is doing. That is well within the boundaries of what a White House press secretary should do. I have a little queasiness about having the White House say, you're a journalist and you're a journalist and you're not a journalist, or we like you and we like you, but we're going to punish you because we didn't like that story you ran.
Right.
That's always part of the game. I mean, even when I was a police reporter in Amarillo, Texas, you have to run the calculation as a journalist in your head. And here's the calculation. I've got this story. It's going to hack off some people, but it's an important story. If I do this story, I'm not going to get any information from the police department for the next year or two. I'm going to be punished for it. Is the story worth the punishment? And it's a calculation you run in. I'm sorry, but journalists do run that in their head all the time. Yeah. I've had stories that I said, well, we just got to let the chips fall where they may. This is too important. And I've also had stories that I thought were on the bubble, and I actually took a pass on them because I didn't want to lose my ability to and give an advantage to my competitors.
Yeah.
So it is a calculation that you have to run. AP ran a story, and the White House didn't like it, and largely in the past that would have been okay. Well, they didn't like the story, and they countered it. But now the Associated Press is being told you can't go into the pool situations, which are these smaller gaggles with the president and other executive officials. So I'm a little queasy about that, but you know what? We got to think outside the box, and they're thinking outside the box on everything. And if you want to go after the administration, you may have to pay a price. But that's always sort of been the way it is in the news business.
Yep, and the news business is absolutely changing. All right, so from what I understand, Brian, all the paperwork has been filled out, and we're not going to have any green M&Ms in the candy bowl, and you have agreed to join us on March 4th.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As I mentioned online on my social media platforms, I said my dog Grogu is getting just a little tired of hearing my rants. So it'll be glad to get on the air and say a few things, and I'm looking forward to being with you guys at the Nashville Palace on the 4th.
Well, listen, obviously, folks miss you, and Matt's doing a great job in afternoons. But I'm going to be there March 4th, Nashville Palace. Me, Chad, Chris, Matt, Brian Wilson now. Really looking forward to this. And so if you want to come, we do still have some tickets available. Find them online, 997WTN.com. Brian, what else you thinking as far as I've got like 45 seconds left. Is there anything else you want to get off your mind so Grogu doesn't have to sit there and listen to you all day?
No, except that I'm really excited that we got through the House with that big, beautiful bill last night. It was close. It was tight. And that is, you've got a limited window. You've got to get certain things accomplished in a very short window of time when you come in. Trump learned that lesson in his first round, and he was ready on day one to come in and start knocking down doors and getting after it. Because at about 6 months in, everything becomes increasingly more political, and as you start looking toward in just a year and a half now, we're going to have another election. Yeah. And everybody starts to, get political, but you can accomplish things quickly. You can get a lot done. If you drag it out, the other side will find a way to stop you over time. So they will slow you down. So you take advantage of your popularity. You go in with all guns blazing. You get as much done as you can. And then, you continue to push. But largely, I got to tell you, if you can't get it done in the first 6 months of a 4-year term, it's going to be exponentially more difficult to get other things passed.
Well, then we're going to have to see what happens in the midterm elections in the House, because we all know what happens in the midterm elections.
Yeah, that's right. Take advantage of we have this rare alignment.
Yep.
And we've got to take advantage of it, and the faster we do that, the better off we're going to be. The problem with doing things fast is sometimes, as you have mentioned, it's sloppy.
Yep.
But you know what? Push through. And learn from your mistakes. Get as much done as you can in that first 6 months, even if, it's not all perfect and done the way Washington wants you to do it all the time. Get it done, and they are getting it done. All
right. Congressman Scott DesJarlais will be joining us at 7:35 to talk about what happened last night. Brian, as always, great to have you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll see you on the 4th.